medallion pass. Michelangelo Rucci, though, is with us, and he joins us to update us on what is happening with the opposition. Dwayne's mob, well, he's got two mobs, but I think he's number one ticket holder of the other mob, so let's find out what's happening over there in South Aussie. Welcome to you, Ruch.
Hello, and I know what it's like to be put in a barrel.
You do?
Yeah, I do.
But they
I'm very comfortable at
They didn't push you off Niagara Falls after they did it, did they, Michael?
No, not yet. Not yet. I think they were looking at something like Morialta Falls here.
But that's where the Adelaide Crows would push you. Your persona non grata down there still?
I don't go to ask.
You don't go to any of their press conferences anymore?
Oh, no, I go there.
How's the balance of power, if I can call it that, in South Australia or Adelaide, more importantly, right now? Because the Adelaide Crows have essentially owned football in South Australia since they came into the competition, then won a couple of premierships. Port Adelaide have won one. If they win this one, they'll start to win a few of those kids in the state over that are waxing and waning at the moment.
Well, I'm told that every motel and cabin north into the Flinders Ranges where you can't get TV reception this week is booked out for this long weekend.
Okay. Which tells you what?
50% of the town doesn't care.
So why's that?
Because it's Port Adelaide.
Okay.
Adelaide Crows Supporters season ended 3 weeks ago.
But won't that change, though, Michelangelo? Can't the balance of power slowly alter if Port Adelaide win this one?
Well, the thing I found most noticeable looking over the crowd of the past two finals is just how many young faces are in it. People who are not going there with their cashmere rugs and their ice Vovo biscuits and their
nice work, Michael. Isn't that, though, where they've tried to push the marketing to females in particular and to the youth?
Yeah, mainly to the youth, and it's beginning to grip, I think.
Well, every time the Adelaide Crows visit a school, Port Adelaide tries to visit two. That's the race that's on.
I've got a young niece who comes home with those crows in school colouring in books, and every night she puts a Port Adelaide logo in it, which is upsetting her teacher.
Well trained, Michelangelo.
I don't think she'll graduate, but she'll be a wiser girl for it.
Well, she's well trained, and I guess a lot of people over there now are starting to believe what could be a dream. Everyone expected Geelong to rise up the ladder. No one expected them to be this far and this powerful. But the Port Adelaide turnaround has been one hell of a story, and if Choco Williams can pull off this grand final victory, he is going to go down in the annals as one of the great coaches.
Well, at least he'll know where he'll be next year, though.
That is true, yes. You're going to throw the barb in as well. You work together well, you blokes.
Well, I just find it more and more amusing every day that it's a case of whereby club coach player doesn't know what's going on next year.
I think they all know what's going on. They're going to make a decision over the weekend, and you'll be able to read about it in the Advertiser, I'm sure, on Sunday.
What, and what, the decision wouldn't be known now?
I don't think they're prepared to go into it.
Yeah, well, interesting that Jack Niles...
The other thing I find most interesting with Mark Thompson's quotes of the week is when last night after the Brownlow victory saying another piece of the jigsaw has been put together. I hope they're not looking in the box by Saturday night and finding there's one piece missing.
That well could be the case, and I guess if you're going to go into a contest, you've got to be prepared to lose. Where could they possibly lose it?
Well, I'll be interested to see what decision they make about their ruckman, because if you look at every figure whereby when Brad Oddens is on the field, they get a boost on the scoreboard, and when he's not there, they don't. So, two premiership ruckmen against Brad Oddens.
And we got Choco Williams on the line.
Sounds a bit like it.
We got Choco with us. Well done on your year, Choco. It's been outstanding.
You look over the same stats that we do, and you can just see they've got a major decision to make who their second ruckman will be.
Michelangelo, Mark Williams and Port Adelaide were criticised in 2004 when they celebrated after their preliminary final win. Robert Walls and a couple of other people said they've gone over the top with their celebrations. There's no way they'll win the grand final. Now, Wallsy again on preliminary final night had a go at Port Adelaide celebrations after goals. Has there been a lot of talk about it over there, or is it just over here at the moment?
No, I think we worked out the motivation of Robert Wall's remark is he has made a bet that he will come to Arundel Mall and bear his backside if Port Adelaide wins the premiership, so I think he's looking after self-interest.
How is he looking after self-interest, upsetting more Port Adelaide people, because they'll be there with eggs?
No, well, if the Port Adelaide don't win, he doesn't have to come.
Yeah? So you think he was trying to upset them?
Well, I think he's trying to find some sort of little wobble to send over this way as well, but I don't think that's going to work.
Well, he did criticise the, Mark Williams tie held up, but he's not the only one. Patrick Smith had a good go at Chad Corns and also Warren Treadray in the Australian.
Yeah, Dwayne, you would appreciate this. The one thing I found when reading that column, I thought, I can just imagine Mark reading it, and he'll go home and he'll look at the photograph of his late father and say, Dad, you made this club be known as arrogant and hated in South Australia. We've now done it on a national level. I read that and I thought, Patrick, you've just actually handed everything Port Adelaide could want to be labelled arrogant. I did a piece for 6PR on Saturday where Glenn Jakovich and the crew over there pointed out that the West Coast Eagle players had put the arrogant label on Port Adelaide, and I thought, gosh, there's the pot calling the kettle black. West Coast accusing anyone of being arrogant. But if Patrick wants to put it on a national agenda, I think all he's done is actually paid the best compliment you could possibly pay to Port Adelaide.
Are you getting a little bit concerned too much, Michelangelo, about what others are saying about you, rather than just enjoying what you've achieved? Because it's been quite superb.
You know what I'm finding most amusing? That is, this week, starting from Monday, Port Adelaide had 14 players talking about their journey to this grand final.
Yeah.
And I've noticed the shutdown mode at Geelong where, one player a day and all very orchestrated and so forth.
Yeah, but you can prove, you can do that one year and do it differently the next year. Does it really matter?
I just wonder why they would want to control it so much.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because if you lose, everybody will say, well, this is what you did during the week and you got it wrong. But if you win...
Dwayne, you know what I find interesting about it, and I've had this debate for a long, long time. I don't imagine there has been one footballer during grand final week who's been asked about how we're going to solve the water crisis in Australia, what we would do about the Middle East crisis, and all they're going to be asked about football. And if you have a difficulty talking about the game you love playing, I think you've got a difficulty full stop. So, in the end, when football...
But Michelangelo, it's not about that. I mean, they could say something totally innocuous and end up with it in massive headlines on the back page of the paper. One of the ways some people handle it better than others.
Jared, I'm always told in this week that no one reads the papers of footy clubs. You can't have it both ways, Jared. You can't say, well, we don't read the papers and then we're worried about what headline we get on there.
I did find it ridiculous to read about Stephen Silvani saying that because the Geelong players wore sunglasses at the parade, Carlton thought they had it won. I mean, it doesn't come down to that, surely, if players are wearing sunglasses, does it?
I wouldn't imagine so.
There's been a lot of theories. Hooksy had the long sleeve theory.
Oh, the more players you've got in long sleeves, the weaker they are.
Then going to lose.
That was disproved in the 2004 grand final too, didn't
There's also the product in the hair theory.
Oh, goodness.
More players with product in the hair, the more likelihood you've got of losing. I think there's a bit of merit in that one.
And the more blood rules you have during the course of the game, the more commitment you've shown. Michelangelo...
Well, I'll give you one to think about.
Right,
you know that the two games that we've had between Port and Geelong this year, Port loses the one at Amy, Geelong loses the one at Cardinia.
Yep.
In those games, would have you thought the team that actually won the most clearances won the game?
You would think so.
That wasn't.
And it was reversed, was it? Well, then, why don't you put in Tom Hawkins as a replacement for Martin Blake if he's going to change... Mark Blake, I should say, if he's going to make a change.
Well, extraordinary thought, isn't it?
Well, I think so. It is. It's an interesting turnaround. But tell me this. Give me some matchups. Who's going to play on Treadrow?
Ooh. Well, they like Scarlett usually on that one, don't they? But then they didn't last time.
No, they would have had Matthew Egan there.
Yeah, and they didn't this time. So now they've got to do not only with Treadrow but also Westhoff.
Because Dwayne tells me that the last premiership victory, and Port Adelaide's only AFL victory, that Treadrow took away... who was it? Who was on him?
Justin Leppich?
Justin Leppich away from the... So he's a decoy. And I suspect, given his injuries, that he may well play a similar role. So
he sacrificed himself a bit, but I reckon Treadrow's starting to hit a bit of form at the moment, Michelangelo, isn't he?
Yeah,
he could actually be a 6-goal player on the weekend.
Yeah, no, I still think he's playing that role ahead of the other forwards where he is taking someone out to create space for the smaller forwards, and you get Westhoff also behind him as well, like Thurston's was behind him in that other grand final in 2004.
Who's going to play on Giablet?
Ooh.
Cassisi or Corns?
I wouldn't be surprised if Dominic Cassisi gets him again.
I mean, he did okay with him. Let's face it, he did kick the winning goal after Adler kicked the winning goal at Skilled Stadium a few weeks ago. So you'd have to back Dominic in again.
I'd swing it round. Go to Corns.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me.
Cassisi on to Bartel. I think Bartel wasn't playing last time.
Yeah, that's a good point. Bartel has been added to the mix. Who do you think will win? Well, no. When do you think Port Adelaide will have a 1 then, Michelangelo?
Not till very late.